To greet each other in worthy recognition and dignity. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. I'm Janice Cannon, your worship associate for today. In the words of Dory J. Summers from the UUA website, let us enter into the circle of energy and love. We are an inclusive community of faith and kindness, memory and hope. We are a community with a deep and abiding trust in the promise of goodness in every human heart and soul. We are a community of quest where we gather to study and search. We are a community of service where the gifts we give and receive are compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, and devotion. We are a community of joy and laughter where the worth of every individual is celebrated. All are welcome here. I have a couple of announcements, just two, and this is an announcement way in advance. Wonderful Wednesday is September 10th, but I'm letting you know about it this early because the UUTC dinner is at 5:30, and at 6:30 we'll have a performance by Max Walter called The Spirit of Carl Sandburg, the People's Poet in His Own Words. So Michael Solomon told me it is not to be missed, and I'm letting you know so you can put it on your calendars. The second announcement, now hang on to your seats. Our order of service will be a little bit different for the next two Sundays. At the end of August, before Soul Matters begins again in September. Both Sundays, we will combine the joys and concerns with the reflection meditation. And next Sunday, Leslie Keir is going to be doing a meditative service, and we will be entering into the spirit of meditation. So today, we're pleased to have Jim Hardy as our guest speaker. Oh, there he is over there. You just wanted to look at me, right? Jim Hardy lived his first 13 years in the city of Chicago and then moved to Western New York near Rochester, where he went to high school and graduated from Fredonia State College. He met his first wife, Alice, at Fredonia. Jim taught 11th and 12th grade English in Western New York State from 1964 to 1997, interrupted by 4 years in the U.S. Air Force from 1967 to 1971. He and Alice have two daughters and moved to Pisgah Forest in 1999. They joined UUTC in 2004 and have been active here ever since. In 2014, Jim began speaking publicly about the disastrous results of America's war on drugs, advocating for enlightened treatment instead of incarceration, and for eliminating the stigma of those with substance use disorder. Since then, he has presented several programs on this and related topics. He currently serves on the St. Philip's Prison Ministry Team, the CARE Coalition Executive Board, and TC Strong. In addition, he is the co-founder of what has become the Transylvania Henderson County Reentry Connection, 3CON, a reentry council dedicated to supporting those recently released from jail and prison. We have already listened to John Austin's prelude, so we'll move on to the cello sliding. Yes, you can.
You just go ahead and read the reading while you're doing that.
We'll be reading Spreading Light and Love. In this sacred gathering, we pause to recognize not only the hope that flickers within each of us, but also the gentle radiance we bring to one another's lives. May our presence this morning kindle compassion and warmth, inspiring us to reach beyond ourselves and offer light and love to the world that so dearly needs it. The opening words this morning are number 519 in the hymnal by Rabindranath Tagore. And it's a responsive reading. Okay, it's not a responsive reading. So you have to listen to me. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless in facing them. Let me not beg for the stilling of my pain, but for the heart to conquer it. Let me not look for allies in life's battlefield, but to my own strength. Let me not crave in anxious fear to be saved, but hope for the patience to win my freedom. Grant me that I may not be a coward, feeling your mercy in my success alone, but let me find the grasp of your hand in my failure. Our opening hymn this morning is number 108, My Life Flows On, an Endless Song. Please stand as you will. though the darkness round me close, songs of the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, but to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon wall, our thoughts to them are ringing. When first the shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? In the words of Eric Walker Wickstrom from the UUA Worship Web, it is said, "The Lord loves a cheerful giver, yet will accept from a grouch as well." As the ushers prepare to take this morning's offering, may each of us look into not just our wallets or our checkbooks to see how much we have with us. Let us also look into our hearts and see what is available there. How much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope. And let us take our offering from that account. This month, El Centro is our community giving opportunity, and you will find the envelopes for this in the basket. The offertory this morning music is Earth Song by Frank Ticelli, sung by Elaine Shaver and Janice Cannon. for the gifts which we have received and the gifts which we ourselves are. May we be truly grateful. Thank you. As we come together this morning in reflection and meditation, our hearts and go out to the people who have joys and concerns this morning. An anonymous one is gratitude for visiting friends. That's you. Okay. We're having lighting issues this morning. Stacy Seatbelt lights a candle for all the students and school staff as we start a new school year. Okay. It's a joy to announce that Ian Cowie was honored as the Transylvania County Associate of the Year at the annual district meeting last night, and we celebrate with him. Go Ian. As we keep these in our thoughts and prayers, make sure you can join them during the coffee hour to speak. Thich Nhat Hanh says, if while washing dishes we think only of the cup of tea that awaits us, thus hurrying to get the dishes out of the way as if they were a nuisance, then we are not washing the dishes to wash the dishes. What's more, we're not alive during this time we are washing the dishes. In fact, we're completely incapable of realizing the miracle of life while standing at the sink. If we can't wash the dishes, the chances are we won't be able to drink our tea either. While drinking the cup of tea, we will only be thinking of other things, barely aware of the cup in our hand. Thus, we are sucked away into the future, and we are incapable of actually living 1 minute of life. Let's take a moment for silent meditation. And now we will hear from Jim.
Good morning. So good to see all of you. Before I share my message this morning, I'd like you to know that in the last few weeks, Alice and I have celebrated 3 milestones. On July 30th, Alice celebrated her birthday. On August 10th, I turned 82. Hard to believe. And yes, I really did have hair once. Today, Alice and I are celebrating our 62nd wedding anniversary. "62 years ago, we were married in a very small rural Baptist church in western New York. The minister was a lifelong friend of my mother, and he actually shed tears during the ceremony. Looking back, I wonder if he knew something I didn't. In human terms, 62 years is a long time, and we've had our share of struggles. But here we are. Thank you, Alice, for all you are and for all you have given me, our family, our friends, and the things we hold most dear. Thank you for always being there for me and for us." Several weeks ago, Janice asked me if I would do the sermon today, and I immediately said yes, because for some time I've been thinking about how I was coping with the flood of gloom and doom that is the essence of the 24-hour news cycle. Many discussions with close friends made it clear that they were struggling to cope as well. In the next few minutes, I'd like to share with you what works for me. None of this is new or unique, and I suspect that many, perhaps most of you, already know much of what I'll talk about. I hope you will find or rediscover here things that will help you find your own inner peace in this turbulent world. Many things have changed since 1943, when I was born, but one constant is that the world continues to be tumultuous, and the news media is adept at showcasing the latest examples of conflict and death. I've witnessed the development of nuclear weapons while watching the bomb tests on live TV. I've seen the dogs and fire hoses turned on civil rights workers, and the social turmoil over the war in Vietnam. Throughout my lifetime, America has endured conflict and deep division, and deceit and cover-up are nothing new. Yet today, something feels different. History teaches us that even our most respected presidents were flawed, some deeply so. Yet, I believe each one, until now, embraced America's basic values and the charge to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Today, I watch as our current president, who values only money and his own self-aggrandizement, tramples on the values and institutions at the very heart of what America has stood for. He continually violates the rule of law, not to mention basic human dignity. He has made it clear that he doesn't care about the Constitution and will follow it only when it suits him. One wonders if he's even read it. Today, this is the first time I've used an iPad to do a speech, all right? So I'm working with it. Today, I watch a president who rules through fear and intimidation, a schoolyard bully who cares only about his own power over others, granting favors to those who praise him and punishing those who don't. His actions, with the full support of the party now in power, come directly from the playbook of authoritarian dictators, both past and present, and call to mind Germany in the 1930s, when people were divided into us and them, and power was maintained by brute force. I watch as blatant lies and distortion are now seen as truth by a huge percentage of our population. Because the party now in power has waged a campaign over the last 40 years to destroy our trust and faith in government, in our public schools, and and in the multimedia or the mainstream media, and in many of the other basic institutions that have made us strong. I watch as this president attacks our friends and allies and praises our enemies. I watch as social programs like Medicaid and SNAP, designed to help the least fortunate among us, are reduced or eliminated. USAID, a humanitarian program that has built bridges around the world and saved millions of lives over more than 60 years, has been ended. I watch as science is denigrated, as many of our best scientists are fired, and as programs at the heart of scientific discovery, including critical medical research, are attacked and destroyed. I watch as the funding and programs to address climate change, the existential threat to life on Earth, are terminated. At various times, I feel rage, fear, sadness, incredulity, anxiety, and disgust. Certainly the opposite of inner peace. I often feel powerless in the face of this overwhelming tragedy, the upending of everything I have believed in and stood for. Yet, I refuse to be mired in this negative space and have found ways to find joy and purpose in life. Here's what works for me. The first thing is to realize that we all have choices. Choices in what we focus on, and choices in how we respond to the reality in which we live. That fact means we have a measure of control over our lives, relieving that feeling of powerlessness. The next step is to identify where we have control and where we don't, and to accept the things we can't control. Accepting does not mean liking or condoning something. It means simply acknowledging it as a fact. For me, the Serenity Prayer captures the essence of this concept and takes it a step further. The authorship is attributed to Reinhold Niebuhr, and its use is connected most closely to AA and other 12-step programs. But I think its wisdom should be a part of everyone's life. The full prayer is actually longer, and variations include or omit references to God and Jesus. You can find the full versions online and choose whichever version works best for you. The basic prayer goes like this: grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you remember nothing else of what I say here this morning, I hope you will remember this simple but profound expression that will guide you to finding inner peace. Keep in mind that this is a thinking exercise that enables us to find peace with how we feel. It's our emotions that are the foundation of how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Our emotions influence everything. Our intellect certainly plays a part, but our emotions get there long before there is a conscious thought. That's just how our brains work. Our reactions to the present turmoil in our country is a good place to start. Many of us agonize over the actions of our current president and those who support him. We cannot directly control what he or his people do. That's the cold reality. Our feelings, no matter how strong, give us no direct control. Accepting that fact means letting it go. So, what can we control? We can choose to let go of, or at least dampen, those negative feelings. Not always easy, but possible. We can channel those feelings into positive energy to bring about change, to make a difference, even if it's a small one. We can speak up by talking to others, writing letters to those in power, and attending demonstrations. Several weeks ago, many of you here stood on the street outside this very building with close to 1,000 others as we joined the No Kings National Day of protest. The mood was jubilant as we read the signs and greeted friends and strangers alike. There was a feeling of joy as we looked around and realized we are not alone. This experience kindled the hope that things can change for the better. Of course, this won't happen immediately or perhaps anytime soon, but they can change, and we believe they will. We can be the change we want in the world. We can donate both time and money to organizations that support and defend our values. And the simplest thing we can do is just stop listening. Turn off the TV. Stop reading the news. Change the subject when friends start agonizing over what's happening. I find it very easy to say, I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about something else. It works. You don't have to be a hermit or crawl into a hole. I care deeply about what's happening here and around the world. But I take that news in measured doses that I can tolerate. When the negative emotions begin to overwhelm, I turn it off and I change the subject. The war in Ukraine began with Russia's invasion of the Donbas region in 2014. And Russia's escalation in 2022 of that war has turned it into the largest and deadliest war in Europe since World War II. Since that escalation, we have daily watched real-time video of a peaceful and beautiful country being torn apart by a brutal dictator. The outrage we feel at his actions and the grief and sadness we feel watching the slaughter of innocent civilians, including the very young and the very old, is sometimes overwhelming. We watch, helpless, to stop this tragedy. Yet that is the cold reality which the Serenity Prayer tells us we must accept as fact. Once we accept it, we can turn our attention to what we can do, to what we can control. We may feel helpless, but we aren't. We can't control the dictator or his soldiers, but we can provide a measure of comfort and healing to those he has harmed. We can donate to humanitarian relief organizations that provide medical aid to those who are wounded and food and shelter to those who have been displaced. That aid will save lives, comfort the suffering, and offer a measure of hope to those who need it most. But there is a limit to what we can do here. Once we have reached that limit, we need to let it go and refocus our attention elsewhere. We need to remember that we can always turn off the TV. We live in a turbulent world and always have. Much of that turbulence is of our own making, and we are confronted by it every moment of our lives. Gaza, climate change, mass shootings, species extinction, hunger and starvation in the midst of plenty. It's easy to see why anxiety disorders affect 20% of adults, about 40 million people in the United States alone. Among those 18 to 34, that rate is almost 32%. And those rates are rising. Depressing, huh? But is it? Depends on how you look at it. 1 in 5 adults has an anxiety disorder. That means 4 in 5 adults, 80%, don't have an anxiety disorder. Yet a news story about anxiety will focus on the 20%. Why? Because that's what gets our attention. The axiom in the news world is, if it bleeds, it leads. Human attention is drawn to conflict and difference, which often spell danger. Our brains evolved to keep us safe and healthy, so immediately recognizing and dealing with threats is vital to our survival. Surviving is our brain's first priority and why we respond so strongly to negative news. News and talk outlets only make money when people are reading and listening. So attracting the largest audience means focusing on the negative. Knowing that will give you some perspective to decide how you want to choose to respond. The key word here is perspective. In other words, it depends on how you look at it. Is the glass half full or half empty? I think your answer has much to do with your ability to find inner peace. We've all experienced the losses that pile up as we age. The loss of physical strength and stamina, minds that often can't remember words and names, the loss of friends and loved ones. We spend increasingly more time going to doctors and caring for friends and loved ones coping with life-threatening illnesses. Yet we are still here, and we are still coping, however painful and difficult that often is. Perhaps you, like I, have sat in a doctor's waiting room and felt incredibly fortunate when you looked around and saw what others are struggling with. One can't reach my age without some health issues. I've had a few, but when I compare them to what others go through, they're hardly worth mentioning. I compare my experience to that of the young children who have spent their whole lives in a hospital like St. Jude Children's Hospital, or the parents of those children, or the estimated 80 to 100 million people around the world in developing countries whose lack of mobility means crawling through the dirt to get around or being forever confined to bed. I feel deep gratitude every morning when I can, despite the pain, get out of bed and walk and live my life. That's what I mean by perspective. I sometimes weep when I see these young children and those who must crawl on the ground. I know this is a reality I can't control, and I must accept that. But there are things I can control. Alice and I can and do send money to St. Jude to help heal and comfort those children and parents. Since we first learned of it in 2005, Alice and I have contributed to Free Wheelchair Mission, which manufactures, distributes, and gives free to the poorest of the poor in developing countries brand new wheelchairs. Each wheelchair changes the lives not only of the recipient, but of their caregivers and the entire community. In 2009, I became a volunteer ambassador for Free Wheelchair Mission, and I'm proud to say that the wheelchairs I've helped raise have changed many lives. The starfish story reminds me that I can't help all those in need, but I can help some. In May of 2013, Alice and I traveled to the small city of Montero in eastern Bolivia to assemble and give away the wheelchairs I had helped raise. As we lifted people of all ages into those chairs, we experienced firsthand what those chairs mean to those who receive them. That experience changed our lives too. Since our founding in 2001, Free Wheelchair Mission has given away over 1.5 million brand new wheelchairs in 96 countries around the world, and adds to this number every single day. Advocating for Free Wheelchair Mission has become a passion that gives me a deep sense of purpose and personal fulfillment. When I look at the people we help, I forget my own petty problems and feel incredible gratitude that I live where I live and have what I have. That's the value of perspective. It's easy to fall into the trap of focusing on the negative. We certainly have enough reasons to do so. But there is so much that is positive and exciting about what's happening in this world. I am awed by the daily stream of discovery in science. Knowledge is expanding at the greatest pace in human history, and every single moment provides new opportunities for learning and wonder. I love watching YouTube videos. These are videos, sometimes hundreds, on just about any subject and activity one can name. Many are just fun to watch, but many are wonderfully informative. I recently watched a beautiful, graphically illustrated 14-minute video on the Big Bang theory of the universe. It showed how much we know, or think we know, and how much we don't. We have learned so much, but there is so much more to learn. Every day there are new discoveries and new tools to answer the most basic questions of our existence. A mere 3 years old, the James Webb Space Telescope has provided new insights into the depth and composition of our universe. Just a few months ago, the Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile came online, and this June released the first pictures taken with that telescope. Within my lifetime, we have learned that we swim in a complex soup of trillions of stars and galaxies, connected by dark matter, moved by dark energy, neither of which we really understand. What will we discover next? In college, I typed my papers on a manual typewriter, a real advance over writing them by hand. Some of you can relate, can't you? An electric followed some years later, and in 1985, I got our first computer, which included a word processor. I could throw away carbon paper and correction tapes and instantly change things around on the screen. What a gift. My first experience with the internet came in the late 80s. Today, I can talk in real time with anyone, anywhere in the world, and access in seconds pretty much all human learning and experience. In the last few years, AI, artificial intelligence, has given us tools never imaginable in a few short years ago. Many see AI as filled with great promise. Many see it as filled with great danger. Of course, it is both. But it is already giving us, sometimes in hours or days, new insights into human disease that may soon lead to vaccines and cures. I used AI to create the reading for the chalice lighting this morning. Some of you may have noticed that. I found most of the readings for this service in our hymnal and on the internet, but could find nothing that worked for the chalice lighting. So I asked AI to give me something that combined the concepts of love and light. In less than 10 seconds, I got this. In this sacred gathering, we pause to recognize not only the hope that flickers within each of us, but also the gentle radiance we bring to one another's lives. May our presence this morning kindle compassion and warmth, inspiring us to reach beyond ourselves and offer light and love to the world that so dearly needs it. I loved it. It perfectly captured the spirit of what I wanted, and I'm sure I could have worked long and hard and never written something even close. I shared this experience with the Tuesday men's group, and someone instantly said that the fact that it was created by AI destroyed its impact and credulity. A great example of seeing this in the negative. But I ask you, if I had ascribed it to a single author, would that have changed your reaction? The physical words are identical either way. How we feel about them depends on our perspective. Just lost my place here, so give me a second. The screen is very sensitive. Okay. I'll mention a few other important things that help me find inner peace. One is connecting to the things and people that bring me joy, meaning, and a sense of purpose and fulfillment. I've already described one of those things, Free Wheelchair Mission. I have worked with some amazing people in the work of helping others and found joy in knowing them. Another is music. I chose Earth Song as the anthem because it is, first of all, a beautiful piece of music, and second, because it is beautifully sung by voces aged. It perfectly describes my own feelings of peace and joy that come from singing. In my 82 years, I've also learned this: follow your heart. Connect to the experiences, causes, and people that bring you joy and fulfill your own sense of purpose, your reason for living. Set goals every day and for the future. The daily ones needn't be lofty. Take out the garbage. Read 2 chapters in a book. Call a friend. End the day with a sense of accomplishment for meeting those goals. Laugh. Nothing lifts spirits like a good laugh. My all-time favorite cartoon is The Far Side by Gary Larson. I see some heads nodding here. I can have it delivered every morning to my inbox to begin my day with a smile. You can do the same. Be aware in the moment. Consciously examine your thoughts and feelings and whether they are appropriate for this moment, right now. Often they're about the past or the future, neither of which is controllable. You can't change the past, and you can only do so much to control your own future. 2,500 years ago, Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu observed, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the moment." Life is complex, often turbulent, and sometimes overwhelming. What I've offered here may not always be enough to pull you through life's greatest tragedies or setbacks. I admit, I'm an optimist at heart. And some will dismiss this talk as idealistic BS. But I'm also a pragmatist. I go with what works. This works for me. I know it works for others. And it is at the core of many philosophies, both ancient and modern, that have survived the test of time. Boiled down, it amounts to this: be mindful and live in the moment. Let the serenity prayer remind you to accept what you can't change and focus on changing what you can. May you use these tools to find your own inner peace. Our final hymn is "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door," which is often used. Thank you. The hymn is often used at dedications of homes, but I want you to think of the house in the song as a metaphor for the bodies, physical and spiritual, that we inhabit on this earth. This song incorporates much of what I just spoke about. I'll close with the words of Laura Lynn Bellamy. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. May you go in peace.